Welcome to the Dance Party 247 podcast. Don't
Why
wink
is
at
it-
me, man. That's just weird.
Who winked at you?
T winked at me. He's done it again. You-
Your eyebrows are in time then.
Welcome to the Dance Party 247 podcast. Tonight we have DJ Envy with DJ T and myself, Sam Saint. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube and Spotify.
I will start because we've got amateurs in the room. Not you, Sam, the other one.
Thank you.
We're going to have a brief chat to start with about DJ agencies and how a lot of venues now are using agencies rather than paying DJs directly. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of agencies. I never have been, from work I've done in the past and bits and pieces like that. Yeah, I don't like agencies. I think a bit of a liberty taker, really, isn't it? In my opinion.
I mean, I'm there with you. I agree. I think it'd be a lot easier from our point of view if it was just between the venue, bar, club, whatever, and ourselves. But I also do get it from the other point of view, from the bar's point of view, in respect of it's probably a lot easier for them to keep track of. Obviously, like everything's moving online. You know, they'll be able to keep records. You're not relying on someone writing it down or all that kind of manual stuff, if you like. So I get it from both sides, but yeah, ultimately I'm with you. I don't like it.
I think the only reason that these DJ agencies get away with what they do, because they do get away with a lot. You know, I don't think they treat the DJs very fairly. Not all of them. I'm not going to say that, but there are agencies out there that don't treat the DJs fairly. And I think it's easier for the venue because if, say, you're booked in, Sam, and the venue are paying you and you don't turn up, that's it. Where if they're with an agency, they can get straight on the phone and go, DJ ain't turned up, they can send someone else.
Yeah,
that is the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's a big plus for venues using the agencies, is that there is that, well, 99.9% guaranteed to get someone else there because there's so many of us looking for the work. But I think on the whole, I would say that agencies are more in favour of bars than they are DJs. And like you say, you've literally just said that. Why have I repeated that? Why on earth did I say that? T, you have a go, because I've just said exactly what he said.
I'll tell you the reason why I don't like another reason, and there's many.
Not the same as mine, no.
No, it's a different reason.
That's right then.
It's because a lot of the DJs that the agency supply ain't up to much because they're not.
Okay, so let's go a bit deeper into that because obviously we've been out and about a lot lately, doing bits and pieces on for research for venues and stuff like that. And we went to some parts of England, not just one. There's been a couple of places where we've all gone together, or me and Sam have gone, and the agency supplied DJs are, I don't know how to put it without sounding too, giving them too much credit. It's like having,
for me, they're not.
It's like having a Ferrari and then a Robin Reliant turns up.
Well, they're not fully vetted. They're probably. This is how you typically would join an agency. You fill an online application, you pay a £20 fee or whatever. There's no fees. You get a percentage, obviously, put on top of your fee. It's negotiated. So there's different ways which they can do it. But there's nothing stopping you going on there, supplying a mix. The best mix that you've done that's probably taken you 20 times, or you've re-edited, or you've edited a little bit because you've done a bit of DJ production. It sounds absolutely bob on. You've got to be R&B in there, your hip hop, whatever. Then what happens is that the bar sees your profile, they like you, or the agency refers you across because obviously you're a guy in the area and it's convenient. And they go, yeah, I'll have him, I'll have her. And to be fair, I would say DJs that are female are probably better than male, although there's more males out there than females. And they end up giving the gig, and then they end up going, well, I can't play to that standard because that was just rehearsed. It's not live. When they do everything live, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but a good quality DJ will be able to fundamentally put a good night together musically, as well as obviously the skills in between the tracks. And not every track needs to be mixed. We understand that, depending obviously where you are and the event you're doing. But you are a good standard in relation to obviously what you've portrayed. I mean, it's like nobody puts obviously the bad stuff on Instagram, do they? Everyone's life is brilliant on Instagram.
I mean,
and Facebook.
Like you've just said, people can portray themselves to be of a standard, sending a demo or whatever. We've had it on Dance Party before.
Yes, we have.
And this is where I think using an agency to get your DJ bookings for your venue goes against you, is that you're going to have to pay that DJ. If they turn up and they do the gig, they could be absolutely rubbish, but you will still pay them the fee that you agreed. Whereas you go away from the agency, like in the good old days, where you say, yeah, look, come in, try a couple of shows for, free, 1 or 2 shows. We won't pay you. You'll get the experience. You get a vibe. You can work together. You had that benefit to not using the agency. But
I mean, sometimes, like you said, Sam, sometimes you can gauge your venue wrong. You can go in there with a certain attitude, and we know that it happened at one of the places where obviously you've had experience. That the DJ was given a brief to play house music, and it's not a house music venue, and it was underground stuff. That DJ didn't adapt. However, that wasn't their brief. Their brief was to do something. It didn't work, and therefore the DJ looks really bad. When they says, "Well, I could have adapted. Maybe they should have done."
The problem you got there, that particular DJ, I won't go into too much detail, was asked to play house. They'd obviously looked at that profile, seen that's what this particular DJ does. Why would that DJ then bring something, a style of music that he or she would not normally play? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, no.
Because you're being booked, because you've been booked for what you're known for. Okay, so why would you then bring what you're not? You just wouldn't do it.
But, we had this discussion at the time, didn't we? And I think that was your and Auntie's point. And while I agreed with that, I also said, there's a certain amount of responsibility on the DJ. And again, it kind of relates into you're not necessarily getting what you've asked for as a venue booking a DJ through an agency. Is that if I'm a house DJ and I'm going to a bar that's free entry, chances are I'm going to be expecting to play multi-genre, bit of dance, bit of chart, bit of house, bit of this, bit
commercial
of that.
Is the way to
very commercial, yeah. Rather than the kind of less mainstream, more underground house. I just wouldn't. That's putting two and two together and getting 5, in my opinion. To walk into a bar that doesn't charge entry, to expect them to want to play underground house and for it to work, you're dreaming, man.
All right, so look at it like this, okay? The DJ in question was local, I believe. So she's known, or he's known, for playing the style of music that they play. Yeah. Now, say for instance, let's put this different way. Say someone booked me, all I play is tech house. Yeah, that's all I play, right?
Yeah.
And I've been booked for a night. What am I going to turn up and play? Tech house. Because that's all I do. So, in fairness to this DJ, she wasn't briefed properly.
Well,
that is down to the agency.
I'll flip that around. In 2022, if all you play is one particular genre,
it's an example. It's an example. What I'm saying is, she plays a certain style of house.
That's what she was booked for.
And that's what she's booked for.
Irrespective if she could do drum and bass, commercial, or whatever.
She wasn't booked for that.
However, Sam has got the valid point, is that she should have had a backup plan, because even within any genre you would play, there's going to be a side that's darker, heavier, or lighter, and even within any music, it's all bass line. There'll be a lighter bass line music and a heavier bass line music that's like so distorted that you can't hear what's going on.
They call that is it trap or
No,
something
not
like
trap.
that in it?
Not-
What is
no,
it?
It's not trap.
No idea.
Grime.
Anyway, so an experienced DJ who does have other strings to the bow, but is not necessarily known for that, but can play that, then she should have said, "Okay, I have this as a backup," and then could completely change tack.
And,
Because it does the DJ no good at all, because it doesn't enhance their reputation, but also you don't feel good as a DJ because you know you've done a bad job.
Well, no, but she or he probably didn't do a bad job. They probably done a good job at what they done.
Yeah, but under the circumstances, you just know
It's a bad job.
you've got a whole feeling because this is a mismatch today. Or let's take it back to the fundamental: is that should that person have even taken the job in the first place and gone, "Are you absolutely
okay? So
sure?"
we can flip that around. So this DJ, sorry Sam, this DJ that's been booked would have been told by her agency that you're booked for this style of music. Yeah. So, and I'm sure the DJ in question would have gone, what I normally play, what I'm known for. They would have asked these questions, surely. Yeah.
I hope so.
Right. Yeah. So, and the agency would have gone yes or no. The agency has obviously gone, yes, you're booked for there. This is what you're playing. Off this DJ goes. And then that boils down to lack of communication between the bar and the agency.
Right. Okay, fine. And as I said at the time, I 150% understand that. But I was told this DJ had a bit of a following. Yeah, I'm not talking millions of followers, but what I'm saying is
a bit.
An established local reputation, maybe even regional reputation, right? You don't just get that overnight, and you don't just get that by doing the gigs that you do that you don't want to play the type of music you're being asked to play, and you don't enjoy playing it, but you do it because you get the cash, you build up your gear, whatever. She would have gone through that, right? And she would have played hundreds of places similar to the one in question to get to the point she was at, right? She's not, any DJ has to do that unless you get that really, really lucky break where I don't know, maybe you're a producer and one of your songs is a massive hit and you learn how to DJ and you start going to festivals and all that kind of stuff instantly. Unless you have that, you're lucky enough to have that, you will do gigs in these types of bars. So therefore, she should have known.
Craft, isn't it?
Exactly, it's how you earn your craft and you build a reputation for yourself, right? So they would have known that what they were going to do was not necessary. Well, no, there was a chance. It probably wasn't going to work. Yeah. And it's not so much about the fact that they played it and it didn't work. It's about the fact that they played it, it didn't work, they didn't do anything else. That's where my issue lies with it.
Mm.
That's the DJ is at fault.
But it's right, okay. If you were booked, similar circumstances, and you were that DJ, I know what I would do. I would have a second thumb drive or additional playlists on the thumb drive, just in case you had to go commercial.
But we're talking, even if I went for an agency, I would always, if I was told to play house, I'd take everything from the harder side of house all the way back to your commercial dance house.
But if you
take everything.
Sometimes you have to take a situation into your own hands. Just say, right, okay, now I've done this. This is not working, and I'm going to have to stick with it because I've got no other choice. Or do you give yourself a choice and turn the night around, and then you're working on the bar saying, you know what, the second half was better than the first, but it didn't play exactly what we told you to play in the first half, which didn't work. Thank you for changing it around. Great. Or they're trying to say, well, they're not likely to turn and say the second half of the evening was so much better than the first, but we're not going to pay you because you didn't do the first shitty bit in the first half all the way through.
Yeah, but they've got to pay them because they're agency.
I know. What I'm saying is that you'll be thanked more. And even though that does your reputation no good in terms of a commercial DJ or a house DJ or whatever it is that you're there to entertain. It's not as if you turn around and say we're going to play loads of party stuff and everything like that. You know what I mean? It's not like you're doing that. But an experienced DJ does not go in 2022. If you're back on vinyl back in the day, you take what you've got and that's all you give because that's all you've got. You have no choice. There is no choice.
But you wouldn't take a gig back in the day if you weren't able to, because so I done plenty of gigs, as you know, T, back in the day. I was booked as a garage DJ, End of.
Right.
Simple
And
as that.
you say that, and I get that. And this is where I think part of the problem lies as to why venues experience this issue with DJs they get through an agency where it don't quite cut the mustard. So there's an agency that I won't name that regularly advertise on their socials the gigs they've got for that week, right, or a couple of weeks in advance, and on there will be location, time, date, etc., what is required. So whether it's just decks, laptop controller, full rig, whatever, and on there they will specify the types of music, the genres of music that need to be played, right? Now, I've never once sat there and applied for any of their gigs, right? Not one. Seen thousands of them, never applied for one. But I sit there every single time I see one and think, out of thousands of people in the UK that will apply for that one gig, right? How many of them actually play that genre?
Yeah.
Probably a massive percentage of them would never normally play that genre. But certainly since coming out of COVID, out of lockdown, people have been strapped for cash. They've not been able to go out and earn money for the past 2.5 years. So now it's not necessarily even about the genre of music that's being played. It's about the money that's on offer, and people will take whatever they can get. And this is it ties into what we said about that DJ in question. They should have had a backup plan. They should have played something else.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, they should have.
They could. I'm sure they could have compromised somewhere down the line that would have been a little bit more friendly to the bar and not too far away from obviously what they have a reputation for. There would everyone can. I mean, if you play the techno, you can play techno that would go down on the bar, but it's quite light techno. You know what I mean? It's not your banging hard stuff that you would get obviously with lights off or just a bit of laser going or what do you call it? Flash? What do you call it? Strobe. That's the fella, isn't it? Yeah. Flashy thing. Yeah. Obviously, sort of there are compromises, and in 2022, there's no excuse to take a thumb drive or a second thumb drive with thousands and thousands of tracks on there that you can play, you probably don't want to play. And also, to be fair, if you're like Sam says, if you don't play deep house, learn to play deep house, or play enough deep house, you can get away with playing deep house as well as the commercial side if that's what the job requires.
I mean, you've literally hit the nail on the head there. And the example I will use to back that up is when I started Dance Party, I'd done a lot of kind of dance stuff. It wasn't really that much tech. I moved over to tech, right? And then we started gigging out after lockdown ended. And I've become what's known as a garage DJ. So I'm now a garage DJ, obviously. MV,
Here we go.
You know about me, a garage DJ, here right? So I wasn't born with the talent to play garage music. I wasn't. I was born with the talent to play chart and dance and all that kind of stuff, right? But I taught myself how to play tech house, and I regularly smash tech house on my set. We started gigging out, and I regularly smash garage on a gig out. You know what I mean? So I adapted in this world, and I learned to do the trade that was being demanded of me over here.
The thing is now, on a serious note, you have in other gigs put in a little bit of garage, and it's not working.
You're so wound up. I love it.
You have put a little garage in. And some nights it don't work, but the other night when you played garage the last time, it worked very well, didn't it?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Proper weird.
So okay, not everyone should be open format, and obviously, if you're playing a gig, like if we're putting on a night, it would be a certain genre. If you're playing in a bar is completely different than it is in a club. A club, the music policy is kind of more set. You know what you're going to get. You either like it or you don't. The DJ's not going to respond, and he'll change the tracks within genre, but he will not necessarily go from house to drum and bass or to chart or whatever. You're not going to get that. But if you go into a bar, and if you've got a load of drum and bass DJs in there, punters in there, because you've got a load of drum and bass gigs down the road or something going off that same night, guess what you're going to be doing? We had that. We had a R&B night. We had no R&B because we didn't take any R&B, so we did garage. Garage went down really, really well. People didn't go to the gig because the urban side of garage was enough to tick the box.
I mean, I've always kind of thought that there's two ways in which you can guarantee you will turn up that night and you will be able to play what you want, what you play, and it will go down well. And that's either you go to a club where that type of music is 9 times out of 10 played, or you do a gig in your name and people pay to see you rather than listen to what you play.
Yeah.
So they're paying for the name rather than the music.
Yeah, easiest thing to put your own gigs on, isn't it? Not the easiest thing overall, but musically.
Let's be honest. Putting gigs on it's mentally draining, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not physical. It's mentally draining. The months of planning.
As an organisation, the agency just needs to marry the problem of DJ to bar, DJ to club. And okay, if they've done a reasonable enough match most of the time, they get the money, everyone's paid, everyone's had a good time. Hopefully, the bar's made money, the DJ's made money, the agency definitely made money, irrespective of either of the other two. So they're not as caring. They just want, if they've got 100 people out there, they want 1,000 people out there on their books. That's what they want. And there will be people that will be absolutely spot on and do an excellent job every day of the week. And there'll be other DJs who are just there to make the numbers up, to fill a position. That's the reality of it, whether you get paid good, bad, or indifferent. All I'd say is that if you can get a job direct with a bar, you're going to take more of that income. It's your income. There's no cut for somebody else. You're directly responsible. You will be able to negotiate the music.
It's not just that, Jay. You will get treated better by the bar because you will feel more valid, more appreciated. Mr. Saint has a question. Go on, Mr. Saint.
So obviously we mentioned the fact that there's probably a lot of people applying for one gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you two have your own independent agencies, right? Doing exactly the same thing as what the others are doing. What do you think is the fairest way to decide who gets that gig? Is there any sort of criteria you're going on? Are you going on experience? Are you going on who's completed the most work recently, or what?
So,
is this assuming that they're both new people and you don't know who they are? Because obviously, if you know who they were and you've got a working relationship.
Okay, so let's say, I'll give you 2 scenarios. One, they're both 60-year-old DJs, perfect for that venue, loads of experience, loads of work, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got the other scenario, the other side of the coin, 2 complete beginners. What are you looking for?
Well, if there's not much between the 2 60-year-olds, I would just divvy it up. You get one gig, next one, you get the next one. That's the way I would do it, to be fair.
I mean, for me, if I run an agency, I would have like a point scoring system. So after every gig, the owner of the bar, the manager, whatever the case is, will go online. So at the point of, I would have, so before you go on and book your next DJ for your next gig, it would be mandatory. It would come up and you'd have to rate the DJ you had before at 1 to 5 stars, so to say. So, for instance, if both them DJs you were speaking about, Sam, both had 5 stars, like he said, you would go, well, DJ A has worked the last 2 weeks in a row. DJ B, he's only worked one of them 2 weeks. So you would give it to DJ B.
My first concern with that system would be, let's say T does his agency that way. You're a venue owner and I'm a DJ. Well, I'm your best mate. So you're going to give me that gig. I'm going to get that gig and you're going to rate me 5 out of 5, even if I am absolutely shocking.
No, but you're not though, are you? We're not talking about mates and stuff like that. Like we're talking just in general.
That's what could happen, though. That's what could happen.
That could happen. That could happen. But what would happen? Hang on. That would happen.
There's always.
But
always.
What else would happen if you went and DJ'd somewhere else? You're not going to get the 5 stars.
No, but then what's to stop me once you give me that 5-star rating? Yeah, getting that same gig at your place again.
Nothing. But if you went and played somewhere else, your rating would go from 5 to 4 to 3. It would go down very quickly when you started playing other places if you're no good. Look, no system on this planet is perfect. All you can do is have some sort of system, like I've explained, in place where you could rate the DJ, and you would have to do that before you booked your next DJ.
I do think it's
I think that would be
feature.
That would be the fairest way to do it. So if I rock up to your venue, Sam, midsummer,
you wouldn't get in, mate. Trust me, you would not get in.
Right, you've booked me. I've rocked up. I'm in tatty clothes. I've got a controller under my arm. In I go. Absolutely smash the night. You're not going to remember about the night because I've turned up in tatty clothes. That tatty clothes will stick in your head.
Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah.
Everyone has a bias. Everyone's biased.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, in order to for that system to work, the DJs have got to put the effort in. They've got to be good. They've got to be presentable for that system to work. Okay, if you get DJs turn up and they turn up late, or they're outside having a fag while the music's playing, as we know, I've never seen that in my life until we went to that certain place, and to me, that's not acceptable. That it would lose a star straight away.
So that's how it would work. Yeah, and obviously you've got to have some sort of feedback system to know that your DJs out there, if you cared, are doing a good job. So therefore, you could pick the right DJ for the right job and match them up. If on the other scenario, that's an assumption that you've got the DJs and they've had gigs and they've got some feedback. If you've got two brand new, if you couldn't fit anyone else in and you just left with a choice of two brand new DJs, you don't know the difference between them, and there's nothing else on paper, then I would go back to the fact that they probably have had to give in a video mix.
Yeah, you'd go back to basics.
I would never, and this is me personally, and obviously, agencies do this, I would not go on a audio mix because an audio mix can be fixed. A video mix is less likely because obviously you'll see the glitches and where they are on the joins in the video. Yeah, the audio could be smooth as anything, but you're more likely to see the genuine performance, warts and all, or as good as it can be, and a realistic representation of the DJ and I would say even 20 minutes. I would want to see something like 40, 45 minutes, maybe an hour mix or something like that, because anyone can mix for 20 minutes. It's 4 or 5 tracks, isn't it? Bang, bang,
oh,
bang.
No, that ain't true. Done. We know that ain't true.
Okay. What I'm saying is that if you've had a length of time, that DJ's had to keep concentration, has had to progress, whatever it may be in terms of what the requirements of the job is, or whether it's just a mix. So if you say, open genres, you'd expect to see 2 or 3 different genres at least within that hour. Then if they're not doing that, it says, well, that's not the guy for us. That guy progresses a little bit more, so he's more suitable to a bar. That guy's just played tech house all the way. He's been more suitable for a club.
I'll flip that on its head a bit. Do you think agencies actually bother to do that much work?
No, they don't. They will not. Because we know is that when we listen to mixes ourselves, we just skip through them. We listen for the mix. Skip forward to the next mix. Skip forward to the next mix.
Yeah, but we're not paying these people.
No,
if we were going to be paying these people and employed and sending these people out into the real world, I would listen to the whole mix because that's what would need to be done to vet these people properly.
You are correct, as in you'd be more vigilant if obviously there's money on the line. But there come a point where basically if you're doing this and you got hundreds of DJs out, if you got absolutely that successful, then you wouldn't find the time to do that. The fact, to be fair, you probably wouldn't be taking any more DJs on. But the reality is that we vet the DJs that play on Dance Party quite significantly in terms of listening to their mixes. And it's not only one mix. I will go and listen. If they've got a profile, I will listen to their other
mixes. Listen to some of the others.
I will not take, on purpose, some respects, I will not take the mix that you sent me. If you've got a profile, I'll say, okay, listen to this. And it might be a more recent mix, it might be an older mix. Let's see, are you consistent? That gives me an idea, not just about the one mix itself. So I will do that. And I will not listen to all of it. But if it's a job that somebody's going to get paid, a corporate gig that might get paid significant amount of money, and therefore the agency's reputation's on the line, then
you want to know they're good.
I know full well there's a payment company or a payment handling company out there that supply DJs regularly, weekly to bars, right? As far as I'm aware, there's no joining requirements.
What, no joining fee or nothing like that?
No joining fee, no demos needed, no history.
No demos?
No.
No.
The company I'm with at the moment, nothing.
It's just
hang on. Sorry, that's thrown me a little bit because.
Okay. No.
Hang on. No, hang on. Let me get this out. So we know a DJ, and we know him quite personally. Me and T more than Sam. That cannot mix, and I'm not talking about recently. You go back a little bit, yeah. Who cannot mix? He will get 8 out of 10 in, and even them 8 will not be quite right. So you're telling me he could sign up for this agency,
yeah,
and then go and play out in the real world?
Yeah. To get on their books, on the event pages books, you fill in a registration form, right? Once that's accepted, obviously you send your ID and all that, so to confirm it's actually you. Then you can apply for any gig you want, as long as it's still open or whatever. Then it's just a matter of whether you're successful. How they decide that, I don't know. And then from there, you then wait for the date and you turn up and play. So Simon is exactly right. That person who he's talking about, yes. The answer to your question is yes.
And this is the problem with not all agencies, but some agencies will just take anyone on because it's pound notes.
This is why I've mentioned it, because there's a follow-up question that I know my answer to. If you was a venue, right? If you was a venue owner, would you be calling for them event companies to put a mandatory requirement for a demo? Surely you would.
My view on that would be it would be a video demo, like T said, and that demo would have to be streamed live to someone on the agency and recorded, so then it could be posted. So you'd have to do a live demo. There'd be a person solely in charge of vetting.
So if you was a venue owner, you would be
100%.
calling for your agency
100%.
that you use to book your DJs for your venue to be doing a video mix.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah.
The reason I say that, I wouldn't have said that probably a year ago, but the experience that we've had over the last 6 months has really opened my eyes, because I stopped going clubbing years ago as a clubber, and the quality back in the day was just far superior to what it is now.
Well, hang on, as you remember it, because you were never quite always on the sober side of life, were you?
All right, well, look.
It seems to be a lot better, because you've had stories basically when you've been sober and listening to other DJs that are around at the year, you go, my God, how bad were you?
Yeah. But on a whole, they were much better than what they are now. And back then, you didn't have DJ agencies. You got employed directly by the bar, by the club.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't want that hassle anymore, do they? They think, well,
no, I know that. But what I'm saying is,
the reason they do that is because it's easy to get rid of the DJ. Because if you take a DJ on, you have to deal with that DJ and then say, sorry, mate, you are no good. And some people do not want that conflict. If they go to the DJ agency, ring them up and say, you know what, that DJ was a lot of pants. Don't send them back. Get me a new one. And you could do that every week for 52 weeks of the year.
Yeah,
but for me, 100%. For me, if I owned a venue, I would want that personal relationship with the DJ to say, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would come in. I would make time out of my busy schedule if I owned a venue, and go and I'd have my own equipment. I wouldn't be getting people to bring equipment. That really annoys me about today's nightclub world. It really does.
Yeah.
It really winds me up. I would say, you want a DJ here? There's the equipment, club standard equipment, no controllers. Show me what you can do. And no Ethernet cable around the back. They cannot sync. Yeah? Show me what you can do. Basic mixing from one track to the next. Show me what you can do.
Okay. Right, so then that's a little harsh, isn't it? Because it's not about your skills. It's about putting the show on. It doesn't matter whether it's done
not harsh.
Whether it's controller or whether it's on separate 3000 Denons or whatever. It's basically, can you do the job? Can you audibly entertain without making a
Yeah,
mess.
But if
It
you're
doesn't matter what you
if
do
you're
it
a
on.
venue and you're supplying the equipment,
Then you say, okay, that's the equipment you're using. You're not bringing your equipment in.
crack on with it.
Yeah, it's not a case of like, well, here comes a big test, mate. You know, you think you're a DJ, now try. It's not like that. It's good. That's the equipment.
I mean, I think the thing you got to look at as well. So I've just thought of while you two have been going back and forward, is
As we do.
what you said, Envy, about, or what I asked about. Would you be pushing for video demos or something like that before you accepted that DJ, right? So the answer was yes. My answer was yes, right? But then how many DJs are you probably closing that gig off to? Because they might not have the equipment to record that.
They're not ready.
Hang on.
They're not ready.
Right, hang on. Stop it there, Sam, a minute. Right. I'm going to use a famous quote from a DJ who plays on our station. This is 2022. Everyone has recording equipment. If you're a DJ, you will have some way of recording yourself visually, being a phone, being OBS, being Facebook. There will be some way of recording yourself visually. There is no excuse in 2022 to say, I cannot do a video demo.
If you don't know the phone,
if a DJ comes to me and said, I can't do a video demo, alarm bells will start going, because I'll be like, well,
you don't want it enough then.
Why? No, it's not even that. Why will he not do a video demo? What is he hiding?
There's that side of it as well. But one, obviously, if you want it enough, you'll do whatever it takes to get the job. If you want it enough, you believe you're good enough to get the job.
And let's be honest, you can download OBS, you can download Streamlabs. It's free. It's open software, and it records.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I think there would be those people that would probably see that they had to send a demo in and think, I really want to do that. It would put
people off because they're not good enough. And
that's the
hard reality.
Yeah, so maybe that's a vetting process in itself. He's not necessarily sitting there as a venue owner and going through 50 mixes.
Let's take this to the extreme. Let's take this to the extreme. Okay, right. What do we love typically? The UK. What do we typically love on a Saturday night? Okay, in the autumn. Yeah, and they're not doing it anymore. I think it's been discontinued in it. What we typically like is the old X Factor, right? I was put off it many years ago, but when it first was there, it was a novelty. And
we've got Britain's Got Talent now, haven't we?
Okay.
7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay, but that's different, and also the voice is different.
The wife watches it.
I'll tell you for why. It's because the old X Factor used to come on, and they used to have people with absolutely, completely, and utterly deluded. Yeah. They're the best bits. Once it got to the people who can actually sing and do the business, like, well,
I didn't watch it after that because there's no point.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. It's like, are you serious? You want to put yourself up in front of the nation, millions of people, and act like the way you do, and go? It's like, I'll be like, shoot at their friends and family, and I'll go on, off you go, mate. Go on,
right.
You're brilliant.
Please stop that there. We know there are people out there who are not good enough. And their friends and family go, wicked set.
Yeah, we know that. But when it comes down to the big, you're going to expose yourself, literally in many different levels. That you're going to go out there and, like, if you're going to go out and do a gig, you've got to be confident enough. You might not be able to do it because you're not experienced enough, but you've got to be confident enough that you are now in that position to take that next step. Whether it be to go out, play from the bedroom, to go in a bar, in a pub, or whatever, create your own events, go and play festivals. There's not many more steps between each of those. You're just a little bit more of the same, in essence. But you still got to be able to do the job. There's a lot of people out there basically think they've got the skills, and unfortunately don't. And there's other people out there that we know as DJs who are not confident enough, and have got more than enough skills, but they're not confident and won't go out there. So,
but I think half the problem with that though, and DJs being confident or having skills, and this comes back to the venues not having standard equipment anymore, because but it does though, because you can go and buy a controller, learn to mix very quickly, but not be ready to go into into a club.
You
You'll get the job because you're taking your own gear.
You could be. It doesn't matter. What it matters is, are you able to do the job and do the job in a good, competent manner? It doesn't matter whether you've been DJing 5 minutes or 5 years. Everyone's on their own journey. It doesn't matter whether you're on a controller
I'm not
or you're on
disputing
set.
I think the thing that we've probably overlooked in that as well is not necessarily, we've put it down to DJs not being confident enough, not having the skill, all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of the problems that can arise from having agency DJs as well, and this would be the same whether that venue got an agency DJ or had a friend or whatever, is that the people in charge of booking that DJ, working with that DJ, are not music people. It's very easy for us to sit here and go, oh yeah, well, it could be because of this, because of that. We are music people. We work in music. It's what we do on a daily basis. But for venue owners, there's obviously more sides to their job. They're business people as well, and not necessarily music people. And that's something that I think is probably overlooked in these situations.
What you have is you'll have a lot of people go, that's good enough. And good enough is not always good enough.
Yeah.
I expect if I wasn't critical of what I did, then I wouldn't improve. And vice versa. Now, there's times where we jokingly take the mick out of each other. There's other times we sit down and seriously gone through and dissected a set or a night out or certain parts of it on a serious note to make the whole situation better. And that's not necessarily somebody's mix. That's about all us necessarily doing our jobs but in the right order and stuff like that. We dissect that to make it better. So not everyone has that attitude, and they won't. Good enough is sometimes not good enough.
I just want to expand on, or not expand. I just want to give you an example of something that you said there. I haven't actually spoken to you guys about this. I returned home from work last night, and I was sitting down with my dad, and he was playing music for his new sound system that he's got in the living room, and he put my mix on from the last one I did on Dance Party. And the very first mix was out. Now I didn't recall when I'd done that set thinking, oh, that's out. I don't remember spending time on the platter, getting that back in on that song. But when I sat down and listened to it last night, instantly, that's out. Mm-hmm. And it started off by just a smidgen. One of them ones that if you've done it in a club, no one else would notice apart from any other DJs in that room. We speak about that a hell of a lot. But it got worse and worse to the point that my dad then turned around and went, oh, yeah. And, that's it's just kind of an example of what you said to, people don't necessarily put that effort into dissecting what it is they do that, they're doing wrong or they may be doing right. That isn't working. So I'll change it. I could just simply go, that isn't working. I don't care. I'm for an agency. I'll be getting paid regardless. You know what I mean? So
you said there before, obviously there's a grey area, which obviously, so there's somebody who's finally tuned into one particular thing that will notice something before the average person will. It's like, I'm an athletics coach. I coach kids. I'm not going to give kids absolute pinpoint information that's going to go completely above their heads.
Yeah, you're not going to get it.
Again, I'll sit down and have a conversation with an adult in his 20s or anything like that. Again, and give him, I might not give him all the information, but I give him enough to work on something that therefore...
I guarantee you go, it's a long story short and go on for 3 hours.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, if you're a bar manager and if your responsibility is basically, you can take a DJ out and put another DJ in if you wanted to. Your criteria is not, oh yeah, you make that little bit of a mix up there. It wasn't technically blah, blah, blah. We had the full dance floor all night and he sent people to the bar. We made it absolute load of money. Am I going to get rid of him? He's popular. The chances is no, they're not. It's where somebody can come in and do probably just as good a job and be more technical, but for some reason he's not clicking with the crowd, or it could be a different crowd that night, and all of a sudden it says, well, not having him back, he's not very good.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
they have different criteria to which they think it's a successful night, and we've had that. Yeah, we've had DJs go, I played really, really well tonight. Everything that I thought it went great, and we go, well, you got a lot of feedback on the chat and stuff like that, but technically, that was if you were dressing down somebody technically. I'll give you an example. In a coaching point of view, if you win the race, yeah, your technique was absolutely awful, and you could have gone so much better and faster and look easier and look calm, yeah, and therefore get a better performance. But who says what's good and what's better? You know what I mean? It's like, well, you won the race.
But it doesn't matter how good you are. Obviously, I used to box, and it doesn't matter how good you are in the fight and win the fight. You will always go back, because I used to watch my fights back. Yeah, and I would always say, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done this. I should have pressed more. I should have moved more. You know, I didn't throw enough jabs. I weren't bobbing and weaving enough. If you don't go back and criticize yourself, yeah, you're never going to improve. We know a lot of DJs. They listen back to their own mixes and think they're ace.
You know what? I was listening to our
DJ
Alexa. No, I was listening to our Alexa, and
I was today.
I didn't yesterday when I walked to the shop. I think I walked to the shop yesterday or the day before, and I didn't. When I put it on, I didn't bother to look what was coming up or what was being shown, so I had no idea. And I know that you had done a set of Tech House on basically the same tunes that I did, all the same tunes, but pretty much the different order, about 2 or 3 weeks apart. And I did not know whose mix it was, right? I didn't. I was going, it could be me. I thought it was you, right? It was me because I spoke, because that's how I knew it was me, because I spoke on the mic. And I thought,
no, but do you know what? That's quite a compliment in one respect, because he couldn't decide who was what.
But I was going to go, oh, that mix could have been a little bit better. But I thought it was myself.
That's brilliant.
Let's be honest, right? You can listen to Carl Cox, Pete Tong live. If you pay attention, you will hear a mistake. You will. Because there will always be. I see a video of Carl Cox the other week, and I'm not mugging the guy off. I think the guy's an absolute freaking legend, But and it was a video, and you could see him nudging it, and I was listening, and I can hear it, and he's saying it's nudging it. But to anybody else, like we've said tonight, they don't hear that. They don't. They hear the finished product, where, like Sam said, and you said, as a DJ, you hear everything. And it kind of takes the fun out of music if you're just out enjoying yourself a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, what gets me is that if I go to sleep, and many a time I do, I put the headphones on and listen to it, and all of a sudden I woke up. Again, it's not me DJing anymore. It's somebody else, because I've fallen asleep that long. I could tell it's like, okay, it's Envy speaking, or it's Sam or whatever. But if I will kind of I'll try and analyze what I'm doing, obviously fall asleep. But other times when the music's just on in the background, and it could be my mix, it could be somebody else's mix, I don't hear the mixes between tracks. All of a sudden you go, oh, I missed that mix. I'm in another track now because I'm washing dishes, looking after the kid or whatever. And you know what? If it wasn't badly out, it can't be that.
You don't notice it,
because I would have heard that. I would have heard it. If it's slightly out, I'm probably not going to hear it that much anyway. Yeah. If the music was obviously full whack, obviously then that's different. But being in the background, taking my mind off and doing other things, you don't notice. You don't notice half what it is. It's only because you're highly tuned and highly trained.
I've got a visitor.
That's the only reason why to be self-critical. I mean, again, you don't be too harsh on yourself at the same time, but you do need to improve. And again, I suppose when it comes down to, if we're going to summarize before we finish, is that if we had an agency, we'd probably be a little bit more stricter, a little bit more tougher, a little bit more thorough in obviously putting the right people in the right jobs. Would you say that's a fair comment?
You say that though, T. One thing we have done, and we've done this from the start, well, not from the start, I'll take that back, from when we decided we're going to do live events, we've always said that DJ is good enough for radio, but not good enough for live events. Yeah. We've always done that, because we've always evaluated the fact that potentially any DJ that comes to the station could do a live event with us. And we've always said that DJ ain't good enough for live events, but he's okay for the station.
Yeah, because obviously that's probably where they are in their progression. And if they come into there's a presenter we take on, can't even mix, and yet he wants to mix. So okay, it's quite happy.
But what he does do is he does very well.
Yes, exactly. And it makes up for the fact he doesn't mix. His presentation skills, great. But the point for what we're talking about, obviously, the mixing the side of that, you know what? He says, you know what? I'm going to invest in some equipment, and not cheap equipment either. I'm going to invest the time and effort. And if you can help me, it's what I want to do. It's okay. We could say, well, how can we not help that guy in terms of, one, his development? He'll go off and get a professional job somewhere else. We know that. But if we can help him on that journey and teach him and put him on the right path with the right sort of set of skills, yeah, not too much of envy and influence, not too much of my influence, but an influence is basically straight down the road and says, these are good skills, good things to learn.
The fundamentals. What you're trying to get at is not your mic skills, because he doesn't need mic skills. He's got that already. But all he needs is the fundamentals, how to go from track A to track B and do it seamlessly. That's what he needs to learn.
So he's not ready. Obviously, he's not ready for a live gig, but 6-12 months' time, we would hope that we'd have a part in the fact that now he is good, and he's very good to do a live gig. You know what I mean? So everyone's at different stages. But yeah, obviously, somebody's been DJing 20, 30 years, you're still clanging and banging. There's not a lot of hope for you, to be fair. We know a few of them as well.
We all know who they are, don't we?
We're going to finish this. Thank you for watching the Dance Party 247 podcast.
Hang on. Did you say clanging for watching the Dance Party 247 podcast?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Thank you for watching the Dance Party 247 podcast. It was a pleasure, Mr. Sam Saint, Mr. DJ Envy. I have been the DJ T. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and remember, we can now see us on YouTube and Spotify. And we'll see you soon. Ta-da.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.